First Kings chapter 3. Then Solomon made an alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, by marriage, taking Pharaoh's daughter and bringing her to the city of David until he finished building his own house, the house of Adonai, and the wall around Jerusalem. The people, however, were still sacrificing on the high places because there was no house built for the name of Adonai until those days. Now Solomon loved Adonai, walking in the statutes of his father David, except he kept sacrificing and burning incense on the high places. So the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. Upon this very altar Solomon offered 1,000 burnt offerings. At Gibeon, Adonai appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask for what should I give you?" Solomon said, "You have shown my father, your servant David, great loving kindness, as he walked before you in truth, righteousness, and uprightness of heart towards you. Indeed, you have kept this great loving kindness for him by giving him a son to sit on his throne, as it is today. So now, Adonai, my God, you have made your servant king in my father's David's place. I am but a youth. I don't know how to go out or come in. Your servant is amid your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. So give your servant a mind of understanding to judge your people, to discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours?" Now it was pleasing in the eyes of Adonai that Solomon requested this thing. So God said to him, "Because you asked for this thing, and have not asked for yourself long life, nor asked for yourself riches, nor asked for the life of your enemies, but asked for yourself understanding to discern justice, behold, I have done according to your words. I have given you a wise and discerning mind, so that there has been none like you before you, nor shall anyone like you arise after you. Moreover, I have also given you what you did not request, both riches and honor, so that no one among the kings will be like you all your days. Furthermore, if you walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your days." Then Solomon awoke and took note of the dream. So he went to Jerusalem, stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and offered up burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then he made a feast for all his courtiers. Later, 2 prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. One woman said, "My lord, please, this woman and I live in the same house, and I delivered a child while she was in the house. On the 3rd day after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth to a child. While we were together with no one else with us in the house, just the 2 of us in the house, this woman's child died during the night because she lay on top of him. Then she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your handmaid was asleep. She laid him at her breast and laid her dead child at my breast. When I arose in the morning to nurse my child, he had just died. But when I looked at him closely in the morning, I realized that he was not the son I had born." But the other woman said, "No, for the living one is my son, and the dead one is your son." But the first woman said, "No, the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son." Thus they spoke before the king. Then said the king, "The one says, 'This is my son who is living, and your son is the dead,' while the other says, 'No, but your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one.'" Then the king said, "Bring me a sword." So they brought a sword before the king. Then the king said, "Divide the living child in 2 and give half to the one and half to the other." Then the woman whose son was the living one spoke up to the king, for her heart grew tender for her son, and said, "My lord, please give her the living child, only don't kill him." But the other said, "It will be neither mine nor yours. Cut it in 2. Then the king responded by saying, "Give her the living child, and certainly don't kill him. She is the mother." When all Israel heard of the verdict that the king had given, they were in awe of the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to administer justice. Chapter 4. Now King Solomon reigned over all Israel, and these were his officials: Azariah son of Zadok the Kohen, Elihoreph and Ahiah son of Shishas, scribes Jehoshaphat son of Ahilud the recorder, Benaiah son of Jehoiada in charge of the army, Zadok and Abiathar Kohanim, Azariah son of Nathan in charge of the officers, Zabud son of Nathan the Kohen, the king's personal attendants, Ahishar in charge of the household, Adoniram son of Abda in charge of the forced labor. Solomon had 12 officers over all Israel who provided food for the king and his household. Each had to make provision for a month in the year. These were their names: Ben-Hur in the hill country of Ephraim, Ben-Decker in Makas, Sha'albim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Beth-Hanan, Beth-Hesed in Arboth. His were Sokoch and all the land of Hefper, Ben Abinadab in all the height of Dor. Taphath, Solomon's daughter, was his wife. Baana, son of Ahilud, in Taanach and Megiddo, and all Bethshan, which is beside Zarethan below Jezreel. From Bethshan to Abel Melholah, as far as beyond Yokmeam, Ben Geber in Ramoth Gilead. His were the villages of Yair, son of Manasseh, which are in Gilead, and also his were the region of Argob, which is in Bashan, 60 great cities with walls and bronze bars. Ahinadab, son of Iddo, in Mahanaim, Ahimaaz in Naphtali. He also took Basemath, Solomon's daughter, as wife. Baana, son of Hushai, in Asher and Bealoth. Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, in Issachar. Shimei, son of Elah, in Benjamin. Geber, son of Uri, in the land of Gilead, the country of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and of Og, king of Bashan, and one who was the officer in the land. Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand by the sea, in abundance, eating and drinking and rejoicing. Chapter 5. Now Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the river to the land of the Philistines up to the border of Egypt. They brought tribute and served Solomon all the days of his life. Solomon's provision for one day was 30 measures of fine flour, 60 measures of meal, 10 fat oxen, 20 pasture-fed oxen, 100 sheep, beside deer, gazelles, roebucks, and fatted geese. For he had dominion over the entire region west of the river, from Tiphsah even to Gaza, over all the kings west of the river. And he has shalom on all sides around him. So Judah and Israel lived securely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon. Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. So those officers provided food for King Solomon and all who came to King Solomon's table, each in his mouth. They let nothing be lacking. They also brought barley and straw for the horses and swift steeds to the palace where it should be, each according to his charge. God gave Solomon wisdom and discernment in great measure, and a breadth of understanding as vast as the sand of the seashore. Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the sons of the east and all of the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all men. Then Ethan the Esharite, or Heman, Calcol, and Darda, son of Mahor, and his fame was in all the surrounding nations. He also composed 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He also spoke about trees, from the cedar in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall, and he spoke about beasts, birds, creeping things, and fish. People came from everywhere to hear the wisdom of Solomon, from all kings of the earth who had heard of his wisdom. Then King Hiram of Tyre sent his servants to Solomon. When he heard that they had anointed him king in place of his father, for Hiram was also a friend of David. So Solomon sent word to Hiram, saying, You know how my father David could not build a house for the name of Adonai his God because of the wars around him on every side, until Adonai put them under the soles of his feet. But now Adonai my God has given me rest on every side. There is neither adversary nor bad incident. So behold, I intend to build a house for the name of Adonai my God, as Adonai spoke to my father David, saying, Your son, whom I will set upon your throne in your place, he will build the house for my name. So now command that they cut cedars from Lebanon for me, for my servants will be with your servants, and I will give you wages for your servants according to whatever you say. For as you know, there is none among us who knows how to cut timber like the Sidonians. When Hiram heard Solomon's words, he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be Adonai today, who has given to David a wise son over this great people. So Hiram sent word to Solomon, saying, I have heard the message that you sent to me. I will do all you desire concerning the cedar and cypress timber. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon to the sea, and I will make them into drafts to go by sea to the place that you indicate to me. There I will break them up, and you will carry them away. Then you will accomplish my desire by giving food for my household. So Hiram kept providing Solomon with cedar and cypress timber, as much as he desired. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food for his household and 20 measures of beaten oil. Thus Solomon would give to Hiram year by year. Adonai gave Solomon wisdom as he promised him. So there was shalom between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them cut a covenant. King Solomon also imposed forced laborers from all Israel. The levy was 30,000 men. He sent them to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month. They would stay a month in Lebanon, then 2 months at home. Adoniram was over the forced labor. Solomon had 70,000 porters and 80,000 stone cutters in the mountains. Besides Solomon's chief officers that were over the work, 3,000 who supervised the people who were doing the work. Then the kings commanded. They carried great stones, costly stones, to lay the foundation of the house with cut stones. So Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders, along with the Gebelite, cut them and prepared the timber and the stones to build the house. Chapter 6. Now it came to pass 480 years after the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Zib, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build Adonai's house. Now the house that King Solomon built for Adonai was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The porch in front of the sanctuary of the house was 20 cubits in length, corresponding to the breadth of the house, and its depth was 10 cubits from the front of the house. Also for the house he made windows with artistic frames. Against the wall of the house he built a side structure surrounding both the temple and the inner sanctuary. Thus he made side chambers all around. The lowest story was 5 cubits wide, and the middle was 6 cubits wide, and the third was 7 cubits wide. All around on the outside he provided offset ledges in the wall of the house, so that the beams would not be inserted into the walls of the house. For the house, while being constructed, was built of stone finished at the quarry, with neither hammer, axe, nor any iron tool heard in the house during its construction. The doorway to the lowest story of the side chambers was on the right side of the house. They went up by winding stairs to the middle story, and from the middle to the third. When he finished building the house, he covered the house with beams and planks of cedar. He built the stories of the side structure against the whole house, each 5 cubits high, and they were fastened to the house with timbers of cedar. Then the word of Adonai came to Solomon, saying, As for this house which you are building, if you will walk in my statutes, execute my ordinances, and keep all my mitzvot by walking in them, then I will establish my word with you, which I spoke to your father David. I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built the house and finished it. He paneled the walls of the house on the inside with planks of cedar from the floor of the house to the ceiling. He overlaid on the inside with wood, and he overlaid the floor of the house with planks of cypress. Then he partitioned off 20 cubits at the rear part of the house, using cedar boards from the floor to the ceiling, building it as the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. The house, that is, the sanctuary, was 40 cubits long in front of the inner sanctuary. The cedar of the interior of the house was carved as gourds and open flowers. All was cedar, no stone was visible. He prepared an inner sanctuary within the house to set there the ark of the covenant of Adonai. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits in length, 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in height. He overlaid it with pure gold and overlaid it the cedar altar. So Solomon overlaid the interior of the house with pure gold, and he drew chains of gold across the front of the inner sanctuary and overlaid it with gold. So the entire house he overlaid with gold until the entire house was finished. Even the entire altar by the inner sanctuary he overlaid with gold. In the inner sanctuary he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. The length of one wing of the cherub was 5 cubits, and length of the other wing of the cherub was 5 cubits. Then 10 cubits from the end of one wing to the end of the other, and the other cherub was also 10 cubits. Both cherubim were the same in measure and form. The height of the one cherubim was 10 cubits, and so the other cherub. Then he placed the cherubim inside the inner house. When the wings of the cherubim extended, the wing of one touched the one wall, while the wing on the other cherubim touched the other wall. While their wings in the center of the house touched one another, he also overlaid the cherubim with gold. Then he carved all the walls surrounding the house with carved engravings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers in both the inner and outer rooms. He also covered the floor of both the inner and the outer rooms of the house with gold. But for the entrance of the inner sanctuary, he made doors of olive wood, the frame of the doorposts having 5 angels. As for the double doors of olive wood, he carved on them carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. He beat out gold over the cherubim and over the palm trees. He also made for the temple entrance 4-sided doorposts of olive wood and double doors of cypress wood. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. He carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers on them, and overlaid them with gold, evenly applied on the graven work. He built the inner court with 3 rows of cut stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year, in the month of Zib, the foundation of the house of Adonai was laid, and in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, which is 8th month, the house was completed in all its parts, and according to all its details. So he was 7 years building it.